You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. On a Monday, when Jimbo Fisher met with the media, he was about as adamant as he could possibly be that he plans to stay in College Station. Told you, I believe him. I believe he fully intends to stay. I think the likelihood of him becoming LSU's head coach is very, very small. I also do expect Scott Woodward will continue calling him. And when you listen to Jimbo's comments, it was made in large part and necessitated in large part by the fact that he had recruits asking him about LSU and felt like he needed to make a bold statement. When Billy Lucci was with us on Monday, he basically told you the same thing, that Jimbo was being asked about LSU by recruits and needed to make some type of very bold statement. So he did. He came out a 90-second clip and said it as adamantly as he possibly could without specifically saying, I am not going to be the LSU coach. But he said everything else he could without saying those words. Lincoln Riley is another name that continues to percolate. There's a lot of smoke around the Oklahoma head coach, potentially getting an offer from LSU. And on Tuesday, ESPN College Football insider Tom Luginbill said that he would not be surprised if Lincoln Riley ended up at LSU. There's some that feel that way, that it wouldn't be surprising if Lincoln left Norman for Baton Rouge. There's a lot of reasons which we can delve into, but Lincoln Riley was asked about those rumors when he met with the media on Tuesday. Here's what Lincoln Riley said.
It's nothing to handle, I mean, it's pretty easy. I coach the University of Oklahoma football team, and you guys know me. You know how I feel about this place and this program. So we've all been down this road many times before. You guys know where I stand on that, and that hadn't changed.
So if we're playing our game, that would fall under the category of Musso.
Non-denial denial.
Nailed it. Give yourself a ding. How about that? There it is. That was a non-denial denial. When you talk about how much you love the place you're at, how much you want to win championships there, but you don't actually address the report, that's a non-denial denial from Lincoln Riley. So that door very much ajar. Contrast that to how strongly Jimbo Fisher worded his denial on Monday, and they're pretty stark in contrast. For what it's worth, Eddie Radosevich, who was with us last week from Sooner Scoop, also said that he doesn't think Lincoln Riley's going anywhere. But in fairness, most media that cover a certain school never think the coach is going to leave because the coach stands in front of them, just like Lincoln Riley did, and said, you guys know me, you know how I feel about this, how I feel about this place. And what are you supposed to believe? Specifically with Lincoln Riley, there's a lot of reasons that it makes sense. And there's some big questions that I have personally, but there's a lot of reasons that it makes sense. He certainly checks the box of a Scott Woodward hire. By definition, the big name splash hire, the big moonshot that Woodward always goes after, Lincoln Riley checks that box. He's in his 5th year at OU. All 4 years, he's been either in the playoff or the New Year's Six. They've been great. He has sustained every bit of success, if not built upon it, that Bob Stoops had generated over 2 decades in Norman. He's still 38 years old, so a young guy with a ton of great years ahead of him. He is a terrific offensive mind who is already a proven quarterback developer, from Baker Mayfield to Kyler Murray to Jalen Hurts there as a transfer. And now, of course, Spencer Rattler fell off a bit this year, and he's got a brilliant freshman on his hands who many people think right now in Caleb Williams will end up becoming a Heisman-caliber quarterback during his career at Oklahoma. There's a lot of reason to like Lincoln Riley. 54-9. He's 54-9 in 4+ seasons there at OU. There's a lot to love. The concerns many people bring up, he hasn't won big, and that's true. Despite the fact that he's been in the New Year's Six or been in the college football playoff, when they've gotten there and sort of knocked on the door, they haven't been able to kick it in and get to a championship game and win it. Of course, in 2019 against LSU, we know how that went in the Peach Bowl. It was a blowout win for LSU where it was really a name-your-score type day. The other knock is that Oklahoma's defenses under Lincoln Riley, by and large, have struggled. Now, a year ago, he brought in Alex Grinch, who's got a ton of experience. Had been up at Washington State, then spent the 2018 season at Ohio State before heading to Oklahoma. And it seemed a year ago like he was getting Oklahoma's defense pointed in the right direction, albeit in a weird COVID year. This year, they've struggled a bit. That defense right now is 71st in the country in total defense. For perspective, LSU, which the past couple of weeks has been good, but all season has been objectively bad and struggled and is missing a lot of star players. LSU's 69th nationally in total defense. OU is 71st. So LSU's defense this year, despite all the injuries and the issues that they've had, still better than Oklahoma's defense this year. That's a very valid concern that some may throw out. There's one thing that I just don't know how to consider this. I genuinely don't. I don't know if this is good or bad, and that's that OU's coming into the SEC. So you could look at it and say, man, Lincoln has this sort of, paved path in the Big 12 where they win the Big 12 every year and they're just sort of automatically gifted a spot in the New Year's Six. And when they come into the SEC, that's going to become much more difficult. So maybe he might want to jump into the SEC now at a power program that's established in the SEC that has a lot of those built-in advantages already, where they've already won championships. That could make sense because it might be a little bit of a struggle making that transition into the league. That's one school of thought. The other is, why would I go to an SEC school when I'm going to be in the SEC in a couple of years anyway? So I really don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You'd probably have to ask Lincoln Riley that specifically, and we know he's not going to answer that. Then there's the question of money, and Lincoln Riley's making just north of $7 million a year at OU. We know Ed Ogeron was making $9 million, and this could be the big pendulum swing because I've told you here, and I think others have reported this as well, that the number that I've heard is that LSU was willing to float a contract in the neighborhood of 8 years, $100 million. That's not to say that's the number they're going to land on for whatever coach they hire, but if that's the number you're willing to pay, and you're talking north of $12 million per year, if Lincoln Riley's making $7 million in Norman, why wouldn't you take 12 to work in Baton Rouge, where they've won 3 national titles since 2003? The only school that's won more, of course, is Alabama, and you can constantly get there and win there. There's a lot that makes sense. The buyout is a big question because if you go Google Lincoln Riley's buyout, you're going to find a USA Today piece that pops up and says it's $24 million or something like that. But that deal that he signed, it's actually 22.5% of his remaining contract, which some of the people I've spoken with specifically about that deal would put it in the neighborhood of $6 or $7 million for the buyout, which is much more palatable than $24 million. It's hard to imagine LSU paying Ed Ogeron and his staff $26 million to leave and then paying another $25 million for Lincoln Riley's buyout. Now you're talking $50 million before you even pay the new coach and his staff. That seems like now you're getting into the upper reaches of what's plausible. But that's something that LSU, if they do make a run at Lincoln Riley, they would have to sort out. But there's a lot to like there. There are questions, as there would be, I think, with almost any hire. There would be questions. But Lincoln Riley would certainly qualify as the big name, the big splash candidate, the pull, like what Scott Woodward got pulling Jimbo away from Florida State or Kim Mulkey away from Baylor or Chris Peterson away from Boise. Any of those, this would qualify. It would certainly qualify. Can he close? Is this actually the target? We'll all find out together in relatively short order. But Lincoln Riley, with his comments today, certainly didn't slam that door as emphatically as Jimbo did on Monday. So the rumors and the conversation will persist. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.